Hi guys, and here's an update on the TIE Interceptor, and it's although there's not a lot of parts, but there's actually sort of fewer than there appears to be when you take them off the sprue and start putting them together. And you can see the wings alone use 4 pieces, the main wing, 2 pieces on the inner and a piece on the outer, which are clamped in place and gluing and setting, because I can paint those all as one piece. We've then got the cockpit assembly, which is not actually glued together at the moment. That's just press fitted together, because I will need to do a tiny little bit of detail painting on the side panels and a bit of a wash on the rear panel. Nothing on the front, because that's not really going to be visible at all anyway, apart from the very front here, which will be visible through the glass, but that's a different matter because that will be easily accessible. And then the pilot figure in his command chair, which will be clipped in place and glued after everything else has been set. On the subject, there's the fuselage halves, which I'm not going to prime and paint until I've actually finished the cockpit and fitted it inside the fuselage, so that I can mask up the canopy and fit everything and put the lid on and fit it all together before I go ahead and paint the fuselage, because I'm going to glue those together and give them a bit of a squash together and clean up the seam line as best I can. So that's actually coming together really quickly. As I say, it's got this assembled. No primer yet, but these bits assembled. So I just want to, while I've got these figures here, show you the difference. This is the pilot seat and figure from the TIE Interceptor, which is supposedly 1/90th scale. And this is the pilot figure that I won't be using from the TIE Fighter, which is supposedly 1/110th scale. Now, as you can see, there's no way that that is the case, and I'm certainly convinced, as I've said, that the TIE Interceptor is actually 1/110th scale and the TIE Fighter is 1/190th, because this is certainly closer to a 1/72nd scale airfix type pilot size. We've got some basic paint down on the interior of the cockpit and the actual cockpit tub for the pilot, and also the pilot in his chair. I've picked out some details. I'm just going to sort of zoom in so we can have a look at the details I've picked out in the cockpit and the pilot, and I've got a little bit more painting on the pilot before I seal up the body of the TIE Fighter ready for paint, along with the wings. Coming in close here, you can see the TIE Fighter pilot, who has been, all of this has been primed with the Tamiya NATO black, which as you know, if you use it, is a very dark grey black. And I've picked out some little details in Citadel chainmail, which is a steel colour. So the arms of the chair and some of the control panels there, as you can see, and on the cockpit, if I can get that into focus for you, some details of the front which are going to be visible through the window glass, and the rear section, which the colour call-outs call for that to be in grey with the panels in black. But to make that a little bit more striking, I actually used the Citadel chainmail to highlight the exterior sections of that, leaving the panels in grey. And then, a little tricky to see, but you can see on each side there, I've also picked out some more details in the chainmail. I might add a couple of little splashes of colour as per the instructions, but that's pretty much where that's at. The lid and the window have been masked and painted in the same colour for the moment, because this will reflect the colour internally after I've sprayed the external areas. I've taken the masking tape off of the inside, so you can see that's what it will look like internally, although that's really not going to be visible. So, but that's kind of a habit from doing model aeroplanes. It's how you get the internal colour, by spraying it externally first and then the top coat over the top. I've left the masking on the front so that I can button this up along with the body of the TIE Fighter and paint over the whole thing in the main body colour when it comes to that. So the next step is going to be a couple of little sort of touches on the TIE Fighter pilot, some gloss black on the helmet, some satin black on the gloves and boots. I'm not going to go too crazy on that because it's not going to be hugely visible, and then we're going to fit him in his little cockpit and button up the TIE Interceptor. As you can see here, we've got a little bit of detail paint on the pilot. I'm not going to go crazy on this because it's not going to be hugely visible, but we've got some satin black on the boots and gloves and the piping from the helmet, and some gloss black on the helmet and the little box on his chest. I don't think, to be honest, there's a huge difference between these. These are Tamiya brush painted, and I tend to find when they're brush painted it's difficult to see the variance between them, but for what you're going to see of this figure buttoned up inside the cockpit, it's good enough. So the next step is to fit him inside the cockpit and then seal up the two halves, making sure to add the windscreen or the whatever you call it, glazing at the front with the masking on, and then I can proceed on to spraying the solar panels initially on the wings, which are going to be black, and then a grey over the body and the remainder of the wings, the framing around the solar panels. So that's where we're at with this one for the moment. So join us for the next build and we'll see you there. Thank you for watching.